Okay, so tonight we are going to share with you our recipe for really good pie crust. So we have a really good trick that really makes the difference in our pie crust. So today we're going to be making 4 crusts for 2 pies. We need a top and a bottom. We're doing an apple pie and a cherry pie, which they both take up top, right? Okay, so the ratio that you're going to use is 6-4-2. So we're using 6 cups. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 6, 4, 2 is how much you're going to be using. So I'm not really good with ratios. Okay, so 6 cups of flour, 4 cups of lard, 2 cups of ice water. So I will tell you right now what the trick is. Has to be cold, cold, cold ingredients. So we put our lard in the refrigerator this morning when we know we're going to make pie crust. You can put it outside. We put it outside in the winter. It's not quite cold enough outside yet, so that's why we put it in the fridge. But normally when we're doing this in the winter, we put our stuff outside, and you'll see along the steps of the recipe when you also have to get it cold. So we have cold lard and ice cold water, which of course you just put ice in the water to make it cold. So here we go. 6 cups of flour. We just use unbleached all-purpose flour. Works just fine. Now, of course, 4 cups is a quart, and this is our homemade lard, so we put it in quart jars. So this is 4 cups, so we can just use the whole jar. So we're just going to put this in here. It's kind of hard to get it out, but that's all right. Now, if you were only going to be making 1 pie, and you would just need 2 pie crusts, then you just would cut this recipe in half. Or if you were making a pie that only wanted a bottom crust, then you would just have to cut that half into half and only make 1 crust. And we will, in the description, we will leave the recipe and the directions in there, so you don't have to write this down while I'm doing it. I'm going to do this in sections because this is a lot of lard. And now we're going to use our pastry cutter and cut in the lard.
Yeah, mix it up.
This is kind of difficult doing it so much. I've never made this much pie crust at once. It's deep. Okay, so I changed my mind. I'm going to get all the lard in at once, and then I'm just going to use my hands. The good old-fashioned way, use your hands. Because that pastry cutter was not cutting it when there was so much flour in the bowl. I'm normally not funny, so that was a funny joke, right? I thought it was. Please laugh. Don't make fun of me. Okay. So, if you were using not much, if you were just using a little bit of flour, you could probably use the pastry cutter, or a fork. But we're using, this is a lot of pie crust. This is like a humongous bowl of pie crust. Okay. Now, that's pretty good. Okay, so now, like I said, we're just going to use our hands to get it all mixed up. So come down here so you can see. Try not to poof the flour out of the bowl. And you're just working it in. You just want to blend in the flour and the lard. I'm making a little bit of a mess, but not too bad.
Mommy.
Yes.
When will I make the dough with the cookies?
Maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, because I like mixing my hands.
Yeah.
And I'm messy.
It is fun. Alright, so it's getting blended together now. If you can see. It's going to be crumbly, which is okay. You want it to be crumbly. Oh, this is a workout for your hand. That's for sure. Alright. Alright, I'll be right back for the next step. 1 minute, my hand has to take a break. Okay, so now we're going to ready to add our water. Now, I said 2 cups of water, but not necessarily will it take the full 2 cups. So please add your water slowly, because if you've added too much, it's too late and you're going to have to start over, because you cannot take water out, nor can you add flour. It will mess it up. So add it slowly. It's probably not going to take the whole amount. Oops. So slowly. And also a trick to pie crust is you don't want to mix it. You don't want to over mix it, okay? You want it to be blended well together, but you don't want to like keep mixing kind of thing, right? So.
Gotcha.
Okay, so see, really, that wasn't really, I mean, this is not going to be hardly much water at all, to tell you the truth. That was, I didn't hardly put, what?
Gotcha.
Barely.
I gotcha.
A quarter of a cup.
Gotcha.
And it's already pretty, a little bit more at the bottom.
She must eat the tiny pig.
Down.
She kind of likes them, but she just wants big, like this one. I think they want to be bald like she is, but she's not really bald. You have weird hands. Weird hands is one pink and one black.
Alright, so let's see what this looks like. Oh, it's heavy. It's hard on your arm and your hand after a while. So I think that this is good. So look, it didn't really take, that wasn't even a cup of water at all. So I don't understand about that recipe, but like I said, add it slowly. So then we're gonna, where's the flour? 1 minute, I had to get the flour.
Ow.
Okay, so I put a little bit of flour onto this little sheet thing that my husband bought for me a couple years ago. It's very wonderful, actually. It's really good for cutting, rolling out cookies, biscuits, pies, and it's easy to clean up, easier than a cutting board or your countertop. So here we go. Look at all that pie crust. I told you it was a lot in this bowl. Okay, so I'm just going to show it to you guys. Now remember, we're making 4 crusts, 2 pies. So I'm going to break this off into 4 sections, or 4 balls. Try to make them equal as you can. So I'm just going to start off, and then I can add and subtract as need be. And like I said, if you're not making this many pies, then you would have less pie crust, right? Okay, so I think that looks about even to me. So here's our 4 rolls of pie. So now what we're going to do is we're going to roll them out and put them onto the pie pan. Now the pies we're making is for our neighbor, so I bought disposable pie pans. We have regular pie pans which we normally use, but because we're giving the pies away, it'll be easier so the neighbor doesn't have to worry about bringing the pie pan back. Okay. So give me 1 minute. I'm just going to go and wash my hands before I do this. Hold on. Okay, so I put my 3 other balls back into here so we don't get them mixed up. And I'm going to get a little bit more flour. Okay. now, let's get the pie crust. I mean the rolling pin. And we're going to roll them out. Now, I purchased pretty big pie pans. So these are the bigger. So we'll have to roll it out a little bit bigger than your normal pie, which will be fine.
I saw you say wash your hands.
Yeah. I'm going to sit down and do this. And try to, when you're rolling it, try to keep it as even as you can. And as round as you can, because of course the pie pan is round. But the nice thing with pie crust is just like cookie dough, you can mend it together if you need to. So don't be too upset if it tears or you do it too thin. You can always push it together to make it thicker. Now pie crust though, of course, some people like thin pie crust, some people like thick pie crust. That's probably preference, right? So you can roll it out as thick or thin as you'd like. Or if you're making it for somebody, whatever their preference would be, right? So, to me, that looks perfect. So, this looks about medium. Okay, so I measured that. You saw I measured that. And at first I thought that was okay. But then, remember, actually, this is kind of deep. So, when you put that in there, you're going to push it down and go up the sides. So, we better roll it out a little bit bigger. So when you do that, it will go stretch up over the sides because you want it to touch the top pie crust. You want it on the sides, right? So we're going to roll it out a little bit bigger. That is a pretty pie crust, I'd have to say. Looks like a pretty pie crust. Okay, now let's try it out. So, see, I'm thinking that's a lot better. Over here, maybe a little bit more. And maybe up here. Okay, I think that we can try it. What do you think? Okay, so now let's flip this back over. I'm going to fold this in half. And that's how I'm going to get it to the pie pan. So you're going to be careful now. Uh-oh, like I told you, be careful. Of course, we can mend it together, though. I might try to do it from this way. Actually, we have to roll it instead of putting it in half.
Come here, you snoozy kid. You always spies on people. He is the best. He is the final. Down.
All right. Once you get it going, then it rolls well. Okay, so now here's our pie pan, and we're going to put it right on here now and unroll it. Now, we don't have to put anything on our pie pan, of course, because this is made of lard, so it will not be sticking to anything. So you gently pick this up, and we're going to put it here. Now, we can rearrange it as we unroll it, okay?
I've never seen that before. Actually, kind of.
Yeah.
I'm worried if you want to break it. You don't break it.
Me too, actually. I'm a little nervous here. Hold on 1 second. Okay, so sorry about that little bit difficulty, but we got it going now. So I had to add more flour. It was not enough flour. But anyways, so we rolled it out again, got it on here. Now when we rolled this out, we started at the edge of the pie pan, not the middle, and we rolled it out. Now, it still broke apart on the edge, but that's, I had said earlier, the nice thing about pie crust, just like cookie dough, you can mend it together as you go along. So we're having to mend it together a little bit, so you can come closer here and see how that looks like that. But like I said, it's easy to mend it together. You can just, like some extra was hanging here, so we tore that off, and we kind of, you just kind of mend it together like a puzzle, okay? And what we do, instead of, some people, they put it over the edge and then they'll take a knife and they'll cut around, right, the extra off. Well, what we have found, which you can do that if you want, of course, but our preference is to take that extra and you kind of roll it into a long, kind of a bead of a little ball around the top of it. Because then what's going to happen when we do our top one, our top crust, then we'll take a fork and we'll push it down to make a nice design, and you'll have a really nice pie edge with that crust like that, instead of cutting it off. So that's our preference, and it seems to work well, and it looks pretty too. So that's what we're doing here. And you can just kind of use a little bit of extra as you need it. Okay, so this is looking good for the bottom crust. Okay, so see how nice this looks. There's your bottom pie crust, and Samuel's concoction as well. Good job, Sam. Okay, so now before we roll out our top crust, we are actually going to put the filling in. So this one is going to be the apple pie. So here's my apple pie filling, and how we got to the apple pie filling. Oh, hold on 1 second. Okay, so I'm back. Sorry about that. The neighbor stopped by for a minute. So, okay, we're back to our apple pie. So, anyways, so the filling, how we got to this filling was we, of course, apples from our orchard. When we harvest them and pick them, we just cut them up and freeze them for winter use. And so we took some out of the freezer, put it in the pan. We added some sugar because these are kind of tart apples, which is what you want to use for apple pie. But we added a little bit of sugar to give a little bit of sweeter taste. And then we added our apple pie seasonings with a little bit of sure gel to thicken it up. It's better than cornstarch. It'll thicken up. Look how nice that is. And then we cooked it over a medium to low heat for a while until it blended well and that thickened. So look how nice it's thick. So here we go. This into the pan. Okay. So, want to make sure we can get all that good filling part. Okay, so now we're going to spread it a little bit even around here. Okay. Now we're ready to do our second top pie crust. Okay. So we're going to set this off to the side while we roll out our top crust. You alright, Abby?
Yeah.
Alright, now this time we're going to use extra flour so it doesn't stick. Alright, put this into a nice ball. Okay, flour on the rolling pin as well. It needs a lot of flour on the rolling pin. And don't be afraid to use the flour so it doesn't stick. Because then, if you're afraid to use too much, then it may probably stick when you try to roll it up to get it on top of the pie. Okay, so that should be good. Now we're going to roll it up so we can put it on the top. Hold on one second, the dog's barking. Okay, so this is rolling a lot better than the bottom one did, because I used enough flour. Okay, so look at that. Thank you very much, Samuel. Okay, so the reason we got our sharp knife was because once we put this on the top, and we're going to use the fork, and then we will trim off the sides. We won't bunch it up like we did the bottom one. Okay, so let me grab the pie. And now we're going to start at this edge right here and roll it out. Look at that. Perfect. Look how nice that worked. Wow. Okay, so look how nice that works. So now, before I bunch it together to seal it together, we're going to use a knife to cut off this excess because there's a lot of excess on some sides. So you just kind of go like that and use the pie plate as your guide. So you don't have to do it over the whole thing if it doesn't have excess in some parts. So now, instead of using a fork, I find it easier to just use my fingers. And you make sure it seals that crease, because that way the pie stays inside and you don't have a big mess. And I kind of like to do it like a little bit like this, like a flip up.
I guess I have all of my nails.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not sure.
Long nails.
Oh.
It's pink. Ha ha ha. Ooh, so pretty.
So as I'm doing this, my thumb kind of pushes down like an indent around the sides, and we push together the two crusts at the seam. And then you kind of push it down like that. Okay, so looks to me like that is pushed together well.
Now what's in there?
This is apple pie.
Oh.
Okay, so now we need to poke our holes on the top of the pie. Little air vents. is what we're going to call it. So I just use the knife. So let's see what we like to kind of do, like a flowerish design. So we kind of do like a slit here, a slit here, a slit here, a slit here, slit there, and a slit there. So we have six slits. That's hard to say. And now it's ready to bake. But actually, this one, if this is a regular, oh no, I'm sorry, you're right, not baked yet. We must set this outside if it was very cold. If it's not very cold in your area yet, put it in the freezer or the refrigerator to get the pie crust cold. Alright, so one quick step before we put it outside or in the refrigerator to chill before it's baked, if you're going to be baking it, we need to put cinnamon and sugar on the top of the crust because it really makes the crust taste really good. So we're just going to first sprinkle sugar. Now, in our case right now, this is a pie for our neighbor. And we're doing two pies. We're going to also do a cherry pie, which will be another video. But this pie we're actually going to freeze for them and then give it to them frozen. So then they may bake it and enjoy it at their own convenience. The cherry one we will bake. But if you're making this for yourself, your family, your friends that want to eat it right away, then at this point you chill it, make that crust really nice and cool and cold, and then you would bake it. So I will put all the steps in the description of this video. And then, like I said, watch my channel for the next video, which will be our cherry pie. Thanks for watching. Bye.